Welcome to The Point, a podcast by Apex Benefits and dedicated to employee benefits thought leadership. You can find more episodes for free on iTunes by searching The Point or Apex Benefits. Please rate, review, and subscribe to be the first to know about what we have in store for you. To learn more about Apex Benefits, please visit our website at www.apexbg.com or find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. Let's get to the point together.
Welcome back to The Point, Fort Wayne. I'm Kassee Lamm with Apex Benefits, and I'm so thrilled to be at Junior Achievement today recording with Hilker and Hayli Beck. Would you two just take a second and introduce yourselves?
Yeah. Okay, I'll go first. My name's Hayli Beck. I am a program manager here at Junior Achievement, which means that I mostly help find volunteers to go into our classrooms and teach our wonderful JA programs, and also just help with the relationships with the schools and make sure that everything is going okay with our schools and our educators and keeping everybody connected. I've been at JA, I just celebrated my 9th anniversary here, so born and raised in Fort Wayne, and married to Scott, who is also born and raised from Fort Wayne, and we have 2 little girls, Claire, who's 4, and June, who is 2. So they keep us busy, but we have a lot of fun too.
Awesome. Thanks for being with me.
Yeah, thank you.
And my name is Hilker, and my title for Junior Achievement is I'm the development manager. So obviously that means that I help raise money so that we can put on the programs. Started out more events, so I love the events. That's a lot of fun too. But I love working for JA. I love our mission. It's just an exciting job to come to every day. I started out as a teacher. I did that for 15 years, and then I went to work with Ash Brokerage. Jim Ash offered me a job there. And then for the last 16 years, I've been here at Junior Achievement, and it's just been the best job ever.
Well, you kind of led me into my first question. So can you tell us a little bit about the mission of JA?
Yes. Well, first of all, we have 3 what we call pillars. And the first one is financial literacy, of which personal finance obviously is a big part. Another pillar is entrepreneurism, and then what we call workforce readiness or career development. But our mission for Junior Achievement is that we want to help a child succeed. Obviously, that's by teaching the lessons that we teach, which financial literacy and anything money matters, unfortunately, is not covered very much at home or in school, and it's some of the most important decisions somebody's going to make in their lifetime. So we fill that void.
Awesome. It's a big part of it. Financial literacy is huge, right? It
Very
prepares
big.
you for the future. So as you work in classrooms, what is kind of your main goal with the different classrooms and the volunteers that you work with?
Yeah, our main goal is like what you said, the volunteers. So our programs are designed to be volunteer-led, so that the students are receiving our programs and our information from somebody other than their parents or their teachers, and just having that outside mentor to come in and talk to them about financial literacy, how they got to where they are in their career, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I always tell volunteers to try and tell like a mixture of experiences, because we all just don't get to the place that we're at easily. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. So being able to share those real world life experiences is really what we always tell our volunteers, and how they can connect with the students. And I don't want to say statistics, but this is a good one I have to share because I don't want to like just spew it off, but there's research done through JA that 1 in 5 students will go into the same career field as their JA volunteer. And I just feel like that's really impactful for somebody that wants to volunteer. I always tell that when we're talking to potential volunteers, because you go in and you get materials for JA, and you kind of like do your grind. You kind of like go through the materials, and then you don't really see, I feel like with JA you don't see a sudden like impact. So telling people that they really do make an impact in what they share with the students is really helpful for them to feel connected and like they're doing something that's beneficial to the students. So
Right. So in a typical year, let's take COVID out of the picture, what does your volunteer requirements look like for someone that's listening who has maybe thought about becoming a volunteer? What should they expect?
yeah, there's a couple of different ways that people can get involved and volunteer. One way is through our weekly program. So volunteers would visit the classroom once a week for 5 to 7 weeks, 30 to 45 minutes each visit, and go through the pre-written materials that we have. We provide training for all of our volunteers so they're prepared and ready to go into the classroom. Or we also have one-day programs that are in the schools called JA in a Day, and that's just a one-time commitment in the morning, usually about 4.5 hours, where the volunteers will be in the same classroom with the same group of students teaching the JA programs. It's kind of a whole school event that we make. So that's what it looks like on our in-school program side. And then we also have capstone programs here at our JA facility, and we have volunteers that are needed for that too. So they kind of act more as like mentors to the students when they're making at Finance Park, when they're making their business decisions or their budget decisions. That volunteers will kind of help guide them and lead them through those decisions. And then also with BizTown, as the students are working in each of their businesses and their jobs, the volunteers are there to kind of help guide them and help them along the way if they need questions.
Right.
So maybe more so like supportive role than when you're in the classroom.
Sure. Which that kind of leads me into my next thought. Can we talk a little bit about how awesome this building is and how cool this, I mean, I remember going through JA when I was in elementary school, and having this experience to come to this facility would have been incredible, because as an adult, it's incredible, right? So I can't even imagine watching the kids' faces when they walk in and see how cool this is. Can you kind of speak to the two different sides of the building?
Yes, our building and what it's brought through the programs has exceeded our expectations, I will tell you that. But the things that really stand out when you come to our new location in Wallen and Coldwater is our capstone programs. On one side we've got JA BizTown, which is a program for 5th and 6th graders, and then on the other side we've got JA Finance Park, which is all about budgeting and personal finance, and that's going to be for freshmen or 8th graders, freshmen, a lot of times for seniors, and there's a few times we've even had some adult classes going on here.
That's awesome. So what does it look like, and either one of you can answer this, but what does it look like when someone comes here to spend the day for their capstone project?
Well, it's going to be a little different for a BizTown student who's going to BizTown is in 5th or 6th grade.
Okay.
Their typical day, so for both capstone facilities, they do a pre-curriculum beforehand, so they already done a lot of work before they get to our facility. This is kind of just like the culmination, exciting part of it. So if I'm a 5th grader or 6th grader coming to JA BizTown, I already have a job. I already know what business I'm going to be in. So I might be a CFO, I might be a CEO, but I also might be a person working in their business, another person working in their business.
Employee,
so you might have like an employee. Yes, thank you. So I might be a sales manager or something along those lines. So they go to their job and they get different duties. They have checklists that they have to go through throughout the day. They get paid throughout the day, so they have breaks that they can take and buy and stimulate the economy and buy different things. They also, as a company, need to pay their bills. So we have Touchstone REMC that goes, they go around, their job is to check the meters, and if the meters aren't being paid, then they can turn down the light in their business. So if you go in there, I went in there one time and I was doing something and it was so dark in there. I was like, why is it dark in here? I couldn't figure it out, but then I realized that I don't think anybody was paying their light bills, so they were turning down the lights.
I will say this, the kids who get to turn the lights off from the utility company, they love doing that.
Oh yeah, they do.
They do.
It's really cool. It's a really neat like visual of you know what we have to do. So they have a lot of fun. It's crazy. It's organized chaos. Whenever I volunteered in there a couple of times, and I always have to like step back because I'm like, are you making sure you're doing your job? Are you making sure you do that? And that's really not what you're supposed to do as a volunteer. The kids, like one time I was in the newspaper and the CFO, he was so calm and was just like doing his job, didn't have any questions, and I kept bothering him. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, finally he was like, I got it, like leave me alone. I'm like, okay. I learned a lesson that day. I was like, he was so calm about like everything going on and in what could be a stressful situation. So it's really neat how serious the kids take their jobs and the being there and how excited they are. Absolutely. We have a lot of college volunteers from our local colleges here, and whenever we go and do presentations, we always ask, what do you remember at JA if you had JA? And everybody remembers being at JA BizTown, and most people remember 2nd grade. We make donuts, like pretend donuts in 2nd grade programs. They always remember that in JA BizTown. So it's a lifetime lasting memory that they have when they come here. So it's really exciting.
Yeah. It also starts out with them being real excited to come here. They're excited to see the new facility, and they're excited to come to BizTown. And one of the things that some of the bus drivers have told us is kids are actually cheering as the bus pulls up. Now they hear about it from brothers and sisters and other kids at the school, but so excited to have all that preparation and then actually be there on that day to have fun doing their job.
Yeah.
Do you notice, is there a trend in the most requested job when they come here?
Yeah, I know that one actually. The most requested job is the mayor, which is the only elected position. And then the second most popular is the DJ, the radio station. And I think I mentioned to you before, the third most popular kind of threw us for a loop. It's actually the child who fills up the Pepsi, pours them into the cups at the Pizza Hut. And I really think the reason that they do that is because they know what that job is. And that kind of harkens back to what Hayli was talking about with the volunteers that go into the classroom, talking about careers and why kids go into certain careers. A lot of times they go into what they know. They know what a teacher is, they know what a banker is, but they don't know so many other jobs. They don't know what an insurance broker is.
Right, yeah, they don't. Some adults don't.
Right,
You
I know.
I mean, really. I also noticed when I was touring the facility with you, Stephen, it's just so real. It's so realistic, and even coming down to changing your furnace filter, which kids aren't typically the ones that have to worry about that, right?
Right.
And so just having that real world experience, do you hear at the end of the day the comments of, I learned this or I learned that?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. So what's your favorite part of working with the volunteers, Hayli?
My favorite part is a part of my job is that I'm usually in the schools with Jay and Day, and I get to see the volunteers in action, I guess you could say, firsthand. So I love being able to witness their connections with the students and then see the light bulb moments in the classroom with the volunteers and really hearing their feedback. We always ask for light bulb moments or how their experiences were, and a lot of times they're surprised themselves on how much they're teaching the students or how much the students might already know. But I just love being able to have that connection or have them help them make a connection with the students and really feeling that the power that they had to be able to imprint on the students. So.
Well, and I also, when we were touring the facility, one of the cool things, and it's even sitting on the table in front of us, but it's real life questions that you as a student and even sometimes as a young adult, you aren't really prepared to answer those questions, and things like credit, or should I put all of my furniture on a credit card or should I pay cash, or those types of things. And do you notice when students are here that they actually take that in and they're like, oh wow, as an adult I'm gonna have to worry about this, right?
Right. I mean, kids at this age, 8th graders and freshmen, if you're talking about the Finance Park facility, when they come in here and they've had the lessons coming in, but they really have no idea what $20,000 or $30,000 a year income or $80,000, how far that's going to carry them, because they have no idea what the expenses are. So they're going to go through all those different expense points. They're going to have decisions to make, a lot of consequences of whether they decide they want to buy the real expensive car or they want the really inexpensive home, or whatever their priority is. They just can't spend more than they earn. And this is where a lot of tough decisions are made. And now they can kind of reflect and say, you know what, if I'm going to have the kind of lifestyle that I want to live, I'm going to have to kind of have this kind of salary in mind for our area, because everything that we share with the kids is based on incomes for our area. And it's a real eye-opener. And on top of that, they're going to learn life lessons. They're going to learn, okay, I have to pay my utility bill, but what exactly are these utilities?
Right.
If I go to the healthcare center or the PHP, they'll determine that, you know what, I'm going to pay my bill here, but you know what, I'm going to save a little bit of money if I use a generic drug rather than the designer, more expensive option.
That's really exciting. The other thing, I should have touched on this before we even got started, but when you walk in the facility here, there is so many Indiana-based companies or inventions. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because that kind of blew my mind when I first came in.
Yeah, that was something we decided we wanted to do because, being from the Midwest, we don't really brag about things too much, and we've had such amazing entrepreneurs and inventors and innovators who are from our area that a lot of people don't know about. I mean, most people probably know that Philo Farnsworth lived in Fort Wayne, who invented the television, but how many people know that the garbage disposal, which was created locally by GE, was once then known as the electric pig, or that the sonobuoy or the refrigerator, the stereo system from
Right.
Magnavox. These are monumental inventions that happened right here in our area, and we might as well let people know about
Right.
this.
You should be proud of that.
Yeah.
It's exciting. So when you come into Finance Park and BizTown, you see different real life businesses that have sponsored their spot here.
Mhm.
Can you speak a little bit more to that and how we as a community can get involved with sponsorships here?
Well, a variety of sponsorships, tons of ways that you can support an organization and junior achievement here, specifically financially. We are in Finance Park right now, and we're sitting inside one of the shops. All of these shops that we have here are on a 3-year contract. So right now we have almost capacity. We might be able to get creative for another sponsorship as far as one of the shops. But if somebody wants to further financial literacy throughout our area to all these young people who we're reaching from preschool through high school and beyond, is that they can get involved as an event sponsor, they can participate in an event, they can make a donation, they can connect us with some company that we don't know about. Those are all wonderful ways for any nonprofit to get to their goals.
Sure.
They need to actualize their mission.
So you touched on events, and there's an exciting one coming up. Can you speak to our listeners a little bit about that?
The Play for JA.
Yes.
Yeah. So, just in the time of the coronavirus and everything, we kind of had to pivot with our programming, with our events. So in the past, we've had what's called the Achievable, where we'd have everybody raise money and go bowling. And with everything going on, we've kind of turned that into Play for JA, which means we can do really anything, and you could go play anything and raise money for JA. Specifically this year, we kind of focus on trivia. So we have teams come together and raise money for JA on an individual basis, or a company can sponsor a team, and there's a trivia night that kind of culminates that kind of fundraising piece of it. So it's all virtual. We've been all virtual.
Sure.
So we have virtual trivia nights, and it's been a lot of fun to have. Sometimes there are different companies that are going against each other, or the same company individuals will go against each other. So just a different way that we've come up with to raise money for junior achievement. Yeah, that's kind of just
That's exciting.
yeah, it is really exciting. It's fun. We've come up with some fun trivia questions, and it's all done through Kahoot, which I know is like super popular with schools and things like that. So we're learning that along the way, but it's really fun because everybody loves a little bit of a competition.
Right.
Even just practicing. Me and my husband were practicing, and he was like getting really into it. I was like, okay. So it was a good sign. It's been a lot of fun.
Good. That's exciting. So you both have been here for a while. What would you say are some of your lessons learned from the kids that come through here? Because as adults, right, we are typically the ones that are teaching the kids. But is there anything that is memorable to either one of you that you've learned maybe from the kids as they've come through?
That's a really good question.
It is. I can think of some funny things that kids have asked me.
Yeah, while
But I
you're in
would
the
say,
classroom.
well, and I was a teacher for
Yeah.
15 years too, so I kind of see kids as being kids and what they do. So I've always been impressed with the takeaways that they have through these programs that we provide.
Yeah.
I said my nephew, I have older step siblings, so they have older kids, and
Sure.
they've come through. And I think it was a couple years ago, my nephew was the CEO of Pizza Hut.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm gonna go say hi and see how he's doing. And he was so serious about, like, usually he's like really like talkative and everything. And I was talking to him, and he just like kept looking around the room like he needed to go do something. I was like, do you need to like go help? And he's like, yeah, I gotta get back to like help my people. I was like, okay. So that's one takeaway that I've had, just like on a personal basis, that he was so into his job and took it so seriously
Right.
that he was worried about, stepping away for just 1 minute to talk, step away from his crew that he was helping and managing. So I thought that was really interesting how excited he was and how much he was putting effort into it. I've had the chance of, and just like Steven has had the chance to volunteer in the classroom quite a bit, and there are so many things that I don't think you ever even like think about until like you're asked if what they've taught you, I guess. But I hope to believe that whenever I volunteer, I hope that I can make an impression, whether it's I went to school for this, or now I moved away and I came back to Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne's a great place to live and work. Like just little things, I feel like is what my goal is always, to just make a little impression if I can.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to know what those lessons are going to provide in somebody. I mean, we don't always hear the later stories. We do some surveys, and we've learned that some of our programs, like the capstone programs, once we do the surveys when they're seniors in high school, that they're remembering over 70% for a one-day event, which is terrific. But sometimes it's that and beyond. How does that affect somebody's life? And one of the really neat stories I should tell is that I was in an interview with Charlie Butcher on WoWo, and Kylie Havens was working in the booth with him at the time. And Charlie said to me, he says, well, Kylie, didn't you go to BizTown? And she says, yeah, that's how I got interested in radio.
Oh, wow.
So we were so excited to hear that. So I said, oh, that's great. I said, you know what, we've got our annual meeting coming up pretty soon. We'd like you to come and talk to our board about what your experience was like. She actually came with pictures of herself when she was in the fifth grade that she still had from back in those days. So those are the neat stories. We also had some food truck nights out here, and I was giving some building tours, and one of the ladies was real excited because she remembered her job at BizTown. She said, I was the one of the persons that worked in the utility area, and she said, that really suited me because she says, I'm not sitting behind a computer or at a desk. I was out changing filters, I was out checking meters, and she said, I knew right away that that's the kind of career, and apparently that's what she ended up doing, was a career that was not in utilities, but something of that type.
Right. Well, and I think it's important to, the world we live in is such a instant gratification. Kids are growing up with social media like crazy and cell phones, and I think it's so cool to step foot in this building and have them understand that there's more to the world than what you see on your phone, right? There's real life experiences that are going to happen to you, and just taking that step of being here and, practicing, for lack of a better word, what you may want to do. And I also thought it was really interesting when you took me on the tour, just to learn more about the different jobs that they can do, but also there's an animal shelter, and there's a pound, and there's a library, and there's so many things that are real life things that they're going to experience. So how can we in Fort Wayne, obviously we're a close-knit community, Fort Wayne people like Fort Wayne people, right? How can we as a community come around and help support JA moving forward? Obviously volunteering is a big aspect of that.
Yep, absolutely.
But what are your other thoughts on how we can, as a community, support you through, a global pandemic's a big deal, but just moving forward, how can we support JA?
Well, financially, again, I will say that if somebody just wants to make a financial donation, they can go to the JA website, which is jani.org. There's things that says get involved, and that'll show you both how you can get in touch with us if you want to volunteer or make a donation. But I don't know if you talk too much in detail about how COVID has changed that volunteer experience, about teachers doing a lot of the classes, but you can also...
Yeah, we always need volunteers, especially right now. We still want to make an impact and get the students in front of volunteers. We can't do that in in-person ways, but we always need, one of the ways that we're going to be doing it is through our Beam In volunteers. So volunteers can beam into the classroom and lead the JA programs as they would if they were in the normal classroom setting. But we also need volunteers to make videos. So if there's a volunteer out there that wants to talk about their career and how they got to where they are and wants to make a video about it, we'd love to have that and show that to our students. We also have a program called 100 Entrepreneurs. So if there's entrepreneurs out there that want to talk about how they got to where they are, starting their business, what it takes, they can make a video, or they can do like the Beam In classroom as well. So we still have lots of different volunteer options, even though we can't be in person, face to face with the students. And it's an important piece of our programming that we want to make sure we don't miss,
Right.
Yeah.
even during this time.
Right.
We were actually the first junior achievement office in the country to really make a proactive attempt to get all of our programs digital and on video. And we're just going crazy with the videos because this is not only something that is going to help us through the pandemic, but this will help us beyond too. Now, obviously, it's best if you can get a person in the classroom to really get to know them and see them
Right.
and meet with them and talk with them about their career. But getting a lot of these videos, and the videos can be a variety of different lengths. We have subject matter videos. It could be 3 to 5 minutes, and it might be somebody just talking to kids about, taxes. And they're kind of geared to each particular class. So one for a second grade class would be different from a seventh grade class. But we have a list of different things within there that somebody could speak on as a subject matter. As Hayli said, we have a career, entrepreneurs, all kinds of videos. And again, some of those that we had that, for example, again, getting back to WOWO, Kayla Blakesley came out and did a really terrific video sort of talking about the BizTown experience in the broadcast area. And that video can obviously be used when the kids come back, because
Right.
we've got all these computer screens in the different shops, and she can say, hey, welcome to JA BizTown, I'm Kayla Blakesley, and this is what you're going to be doing today.
Right. So you're definitely repurposing. It's not just for
Absolutely.
right
Yeah.
now. You guys
Yeah.
are pivoting so that you can repurpose things too.
Yeah,
Correct.
and I think that, you have to find silver linings in all of this. And I think I found a couple just by talking to volunteers. One is when we make the videos, look how much more reach we can have with reaching students that maybe for whatever reason aren't able to participate in JA, or their school doesn't have it, or they're homeschooled and
Sure.
they can't come to our JA in a day that we have for homeschool students. So I feel like there's a bigger reach that we can do, and we can always have that if the teachers want these videos as resources. And then also another silver lining of the Beeman, we have a volunteer that moved to California, and she's worked with the same teacher for many, many years. And she was super sad that she couldn't volunteer anymore. And we just happened to reach out to her and say, hey, the teachers requested you back. Any chance you want to beam in to the classroom? And
Yeah.
she was like, this just made my day.
Aw.
You don't have any idea how much I was gonna miss volunteering with JA. So she was able to beam into a classroom from California in Fort Wayne, Indiana,
How cool is that?
to be with the students. So I think finding silver linings like that
Absolutely.
throughout this have really helped us kind of be proactive and really look to the future as our programming is going to change,
Right.
maybe, even after everything is done.
Yeah, and I think one thing is, as a teacher, I've been in the classroom lots of times, and I still to this day don't get tired of going into a school to teach a JA lesson, and especially if it's a school where I've been there as a volunteer several times before, and kids will come up, hey, Mr. Hilker, how you doing? It's like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I don't recognize you. It's been a couple of years, But no, it is. I think they give back a lot more than you think they're going to, and I always go in there thinking, I'm going to give them some really important life lessons. I'm going to tell them how important it is to save. Because if I could turn the Wayback Machine, and we talked about this,
We
and
did.
how much you could put yourself ahead if you could discipline yourself to start saving early. So that's a key nugget that JA teaches, and I teach specifically. But whether it's something that you want to share with them about the importance of getting a shorter term mortgage to be able to save long term, whatever it may be, there's so many life lessons that we can share. And we would like people to consider the fact that if you don't want to beam in or Zoom in, or maybe come back when people are going back into the classroom, it is really a rewarding experience.
And it's a lot of fun. We make
Sure.
it fun. You're just not talking to students. You're doing hands-on activities that are a lot of fun.
Plus, we try to match you up with maybe if it's your son's class, or if it's a neighborhood school close to where you work, so you can slip in and get back to work without missing much time. But it's a very rewarding. And we have some volunteers who are like super volunteers, and they just love it. So they're going to take a whole bunch of classes.
That's awesome. Well, I would highly recommend anyone coming to chat with either one of you two to learn more about it and maybe take a tour of the facility.
Yeah, we love visitors.
Yeah, it's just so eye-opening because, like I said, I remember being in JA, and then even when I walked in here the first time into this amazing new building, I mean, you're almost awestruck because there's so much opportunity and there's so many things that you can learn. And so I would recommend to anybody to come visit and take a tour and get your picture taken in the what do you call it,
The mirror.
the mirror. Yes,
Mirror me.
that was so cool. Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for being guests on the podcast. I really appreciate it, and we'll include a link to your website so people can find you in your LinkedIn so that they can reach out if they have specific questions. But I just thank you both so much for being part of the podcast.
Thank you for having us. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can find more episodes for free on iTunes by searching The Point or Apex Benefits. Please rate, review, and subscribe to be the first to know about what we have in store for you. To learn more about Apex Benefits, please visit our website at www.apexbg.com or find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. Let's get to the point together.